Hello once again, and I'm delighted to be bringing you this second episode of Key Steps, a monthly series of quick 6 to 7 minute talks, followed by audience interaction over chat. This is highly interactive, by the way. I mean, it really depends on how interactive you want to get. You participate by typing in your questions and in the chat box, and it shows up on the screen somewhere here. So try something, try writing something just now, and you'll see it appear here. This, of course, is brought to you by Advanced Workplace Institute, which is about supporting leaders in changing the world of work for the better. And so much has changed, right, in the world of work over the last 20 months. One of the biggest, I think, general realizations over the last 20 months has been the fact that all work does not happen in the office alone, and all work does not happen at the desk alone. And remember, by the way, a bus station is where a bus stops, a train station is where a train stops, and on my desk I have a workstation. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I wonder if the last 20 months happened because I did not forward that message to 10 people that I was supposed to. In other news, a client of ours recently hired a wellness officer to boost their employees' mental wellness. And there was this workshop which was happening, and one of the employees asked the officer, "Can you teach me yoga?" And he said, "Yeah, I can. I mean, how flexible are you?" And this guy responds, he says that, "Sorry, I cannot make it on Tuesdays and Fridays." I think the whole concept of flexibility at the workplace has a whole new meaning today. Giving employees greater flexibility in choosing how, when, and where they want to work from is a norm today. And along with flexibility, a lot of leaders speak about the importance of treating employees as customers today, and talk about designing customer experiences for them when they're in the office and even when they're not. But there has been one man who has been talking about this for many years and has helped organizations across the globe design employee experience journeys around the office. Clark Elliott, one of the senior-most workplace strategists in Europe and a senior associate at Advanced Workplace Associates, is joining us from Geneva today to talk about the key steps one must keep in mind when designing the workplace experience. Before I hand it over to Clark, audience, once again, we want to make this session very interactive, include you in the discussions over chat, and co-create some new ideas and thoughts. So do type in your questions or comments in the chat box, and we will bring it up here on the screen right here. Clark will respond to that, to your questions live. Watch this space at the bottom of the screen. We will be sending out some messages to you during the course of this episode. In fact, we may even ask you some questions, so please do respond to those and watch your responses appear here. Okay? All right. Over to you, Clark, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Partha. It's a real pleasure to be here today. As you mentioned, my career as a workplace strategist has focused on designing workplace experience. My university training prepared me for using a holistic approach when addressing any design challenge, no matter the scale. Part of this approach is very rooted in design thinking. Considering human factors in doing environmental design has to include designing user experience. We at AWA begin by discovering what the exam questions are. We establish in a really structured way what needs to be addressed in any new project. Today, more than ever, new questions are coming up about the place part of the word workplace experience. These past few months, our new clients are asking a new question. How can we make a workplace that people sincerely want to be in, to come to? As Partha mentioned, a new mindset is in the air. Decision makers are recognizing that employees are internal customers. The positive experiences of early adopters that considered user experience well before the pandemic has shown really important results, proving user experience is part of all projects that are successful. Successful programs are rooted in understanding how to combine vision, aspirations, and flexibility for a future that is constantly evolving. Coherent solutions have to develop space use problems that are based on user needs. This is what we've always done. However, today, we must understand there's a new mix of diverse individuals, and we have to understand the different activity types that these people do. This new focus on activities exposes the ones that are optimally performed remotely and those that are best with physical presence or in hybrid blended modes. As Partha mentioned, offering flexibility and choice has become more important than ever after 20 months of this large experiment, the largest experiment in work history. Microsoft's research into hybrid work since the pandemic began has forced new ways of working on to knowledge workers, and the research findings are now offering new perspectives about what is being called the hybrid paradox. There's a new understanding of the difference between space and place. Microsoft hybrid work paradox can be defined as how people have gotten used to the benefits of work from home, but how they also crave the stimulation and the social aspects of being with colleagues in the work from office experience. Microsoft suggests that solving the hybrid paradox means letting go of our very deeply ingrained urge to equate workspace and workplace. In this hybrid era, the spaces where we work will encompass everything from corporate campuses to satellite hubs to home offices, even coffee shops. What's more, who is where at any given time is going to be in a state of constant flux. Following this line of thought, creative work and collaborative work happens in places that are not necessarily physical. The internet has become the new place where millions work together these past 20 months. So a true hybrid workplace will not be defined by where people gather, but how they feel working together, how they feel included in the collective effort and the shared mission. Inclusion then turns people into stakeholders, and employees who feel like stakeholders turn blank screens and empty offices into places rich with meaning. When people feel included, they're more fully engaged, and they have the freedom to work anywhere, rather than feeling tied to a single space, either at home or at the office. This opens great potential for innovation, for sharing, culture, and well-being is increasing exponentially. Another piece of the puzzle that I suggest you keep in mind is establish physical presence forecasts and understand the patterns of when people work from home and work from the office. We now create or repurpose spaces to respond to these types of activities that are best done in the office. Our recent projects are seeing a shift of how physical spaces are being reconfigured. Findings suggest there should be a significant increase in the percentage of office space that's being used, should be used for collaborative spaces, for informal meeting areas, and multi-purpose social areas. Work from home is driving a reduction of the number of one-size-fits-all workstations that should be in the new office. This aligns with our increasing attention to creating user experiences that support human interactions, that increase social cohesion, and support evolving organizational cultures. So, we suggest designing for serendipity more than ever. Support collaboration, encourage cross-fertilization of ideas, and support creativity and innovation in all your design choices. Another concept as I close is to impress on everyone our new focus on being intentional. Intentionality means choose to go to the office when it's appropriate and be intentional about the activities you plan to do. Plan team activities around meetings and breaks and meals should all be part of this new user experience with intentionality. Ensure that the culture you want takes roots and it thrives. To do this, we often suggest upskilling managers. It's as important as repurposing spaces. Both these issues combine so that you intentionally create positive user experiences. So realize that designing workplace experiences starts with imagining employees as internal customers or even consumers. Offer joined up experiences no matter where people are working. Happy employees show increased engagement, deeper loyalty, and they contribute to creating competitive advantage. Keep in mind, well-being at work is much more than nice to have. Today, it's mission critical. And the workplace really is not a space. It's a place where collaboration and creativity happens no matter where people are sitting across our planet. And remember, include ongoing change management programs with any changes from the start of a project. Be sure everyone understands what's being transformed and they buy in at every step of any transformation. Thank you.
Clark, I mean, happy employees can be a competitive advantage. I think that's quite profound, actually, and you never really think about it that way. You also spoke about designing for serendipity. Serendipity, did I get it right? Yes. I mean, the point is, and I've been involved in design in the past, that there is no definitive design brief anymore, right? I mean towards this, I mean, I think it's kind of like a leap of faith. It's a bit fuzzy, isn't it? So for a future which is so uncertain, I mean, how do we really future proof ourselves, our employees, our colleagues, and organizations through design? How do you do that?
It's a good question. You make me laugh, Martha, because 20 years ago, well, maybe not 20 years ago, you cannot Google the future. And I've been saying this for years. Everyone wants to know what the future is going to bring, and no one really knows. You know, the uncertainty is a fact of life. And we've got some ideas. And I think, as I mentioned just previously, by giving people choice, by letting people make their own decisions. What do I need to do next? By creating multi-purpose spaces, you can foster serendipity. I mean, one of the discussions I had just this morning We were talking about how intelligent lifts are killing these wonderful moments where people used to be caught waiting for a lift and you would talk for 2 or 3 minutes. Now, an algorithm says go to the right, go to elevator bank BCD, and you'll get the most efficient lift. And in effect, people feel like they're a victim. Someone's telling them what to do, and they've overridden the choice of maybe running into you physically because you're at a different elevator bank. It's one example, but coming back to the whole idea of people going to the office to meet their colleagues, to be creative, to have those spontaneous water cooler moments. You can do that through design and by having multi-purpose spaces that are lounges, pause areas, informal meeting areas. They serve all those purposes depending on what time of the day and how many people are in the building physically at that time.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that we need to have different kinds of spaces. The other thing is, of course, you also spoke about inclusivity, Clark, and one of the things about inclusivity that we also need to be inclusive about people who are disabled in a certain way. And I'm so happy, we've actually had this comment, if you can see on the screen. This is Neeraj. He says that our closed captions available. I'm hearing handicapped. This is the world we're living in. Neeraj, we're really sorry that we do not have it this time, but we'll certainly work on this. And I think this is excellent feedback for us. That today we are not talking about inclusivity at the physical workplace, but we are talking about a hybrid world when people will join from different parts of the world. They'd like to be included. And I think this is something that even the big, I think, techies have to work. Any comments on this, Clark?
Oh, I think it's a very good point, but I would connect it back to your first comment just when we started the question and answer about happy employees or well-being. If you look at well-being in a very large definition of the term, it means inclusivity, it means including everyone. When you can get people to be their authentic selves, coming to work in wherever, virtually or physically, you get the benefits of something that goes deeply beyond simple happiness. You've got a level of engagement, and I think it's why I said it's mission critical to consider the user experience. Happy employees. Do you know statistically before the pandemic started, 70%, 70% of people were not happy with their jobs. And now people are voting with their feet
Yeah,
in terms of leaving jobs. So I think about it's not just happiness, it's being your authentic self, going to work, meeting others, the new younger generations coming into the workforce now want to learn, want to meet others, want to be mentored. All of this gives new types of suggestions to what the work environment should provide, I think.
there's a very interesting question from Neeraj again. He says that with so much of experience in office spaces, what difference do you see from 25 years ago to today? In fact, I was speaking with Clark that some of the things that we're discussing today, Clark has been speaking about this for probably more than 25 years. A lot of people have realized today. But hey, no harm in that. So, Clark, could you talk about one or two things which has really changed at the client's level and they have understood, which they probably didn't understand 25 years back? Mm.
Well, I think probably the first one-liner that I've been saying for 25 years, but it's a mindset change. Work is something I do, not a place I go. And I think that's as relevant today, if not more relevant, than it was 25 years ago. But 25 years ago, when I was doing the first projects that were introducing activity-based work environments, getting people to use technology as a new type of tool to liberate them from sitting at the same table every day and trying to do all different types of tasks at a one-size-fits-all desk. In effect, this message has been out there for the last 25 years. In the last 20 months, we've
20 months.
gotten a lot of understanding how that could respond and help people cope with the challenges of this pandemic world and post-pandemic world. The things are really different spaces for different activities. I think that's relevant. I don't think, well, I don't want to break my arm patting myself on the back. With my projects, the principles are the same. Who are the users? What's the vision? What do you need to accomplish? And how could you maybe put the pieces of the puzzle together in less traditional ways, not to change things just to change things, but to really consider the possibilities of using technology as a tool to help people be more productive, to be in contact, but at the same time using the physical spaces to be together and get that magic ingredient of vitamins that being alive with people, exchanging ideas, the way our brains work, where you hear a keyword and you have a whole series of ideas.
Speaking of technology, indeed, I mean, I think one of the things that we're hearing a lot about these days is, of course, booking apps, reservation apps for the office. Uh, and I keep on thinking about this. And on one hand, we keep on talking about activity-based working, right? So when you go to the office, I just need to have the seat for whatever activity, like you mentioned, intentionally I'm going to the office for. But on the other hand, it's a paradox. You also have this concept of booking apps that I need to book my seat. What's your take on this? Do you think booking apps, or do you think it should be activity-based working, or it's a mix of the two?
Well, it's a really good question. And I would say we're looking at that. It's a work in progress. All the last 2 weeks, I've been doing uh, workshops with people managers, and we call these working together agreements, to look at exactly this. And sometimes we come up with this suggestion, it would be really good to have a booking app to juggle the complexity of where's my team, when should we have a team meeting, when should we make that team meeting physical or blended, and if it's blended, too bad, but we'd like to have lunch together with everyone after the meeting, and let's try to make it physical. So booking acts become, I think, another tool that could help in a very complicated new normal that we haven't really designed yet. But knowing who's in, knowing where you can go sit when you arrive to the office, depending on the scale, is really important. However, I would remind people, it comes up in every workshop we're running, being intentional means don't go to the office and look for a desk for 8 hours and be on back-to-back Teams meetings. Why? Why go to the office for that? Go to the office to have coffee, to go to meetings with other people, have breaks, be creative, have live sessions, and maybe do a little bit of a few emails in between spaces. You don't even need a desk for that. A cool place in the corner of the coffee hub on the floor is perfect, or Starbucks, or another coffee shop.
Yeah, and this that kind of connects with what you said about the Microsoft hybrid work paradox. And there's a question, I think, which is probably linked to that, what you said, that when we are in the office, we want a little bit of home, and when we're at home, we want a little bit of the office. So do we create more of home in the office, or more of office at home?
Boy,
You're on the
well,
spot there.
that I have to scratch my head about that one. Listen, honestly, I wouldn't impose an office-like structure in anyone's home. Some might want it. I would say ergonomic, yes, a good desk, a good screen, some principles about lighting, but some people are still using kitchen tables. Very few people have the luxury to have a home office room where you could shut the door. Maybe the next generation of houses and flats will be designed that way to integrate home working as a new part of our home and work culture. But I wouldn't really suggest anything more than the ergonomic basis at home. Some people might want it, some not. And then the aesthetics of what people's home environment is. And a lot of people, one of the biggest challenges right now is people want to draw the line between work and I'm not working anymore. And when you're working from home, the boundary is really fuzzy. And having it feel like I'm done with work, I think is a really important thing. The casual side of working in the office, I think, is a good point where you want to make choices of settings, soft seating forward, seating backwards. Your body language already, standing up is great
Hmm.
for creativity. The last projects we're doing for one of the leading technology companies, we've got a place called the Garage, whiteboards, pin boards, stand-up tables, everything's on wheels. You pull up a whiteboard, pull up a pinboard. You could do ideation and design thinking with clients or among your team members. It's all part of a new choice for going to the office. In this particular project, 75% of the whole new building is for client-facing, customer-facing spaces. There are not a lot of workstations.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the verdict is not yet out, but Clark, I also keep on talking to clients, and one of the things is that the ambiguity of the future workplace that COVID has, thrust upon us, and we ask my clients, "How do you deal with this?" And one thing I'm hearing continuously is that decisions are being taken now. I mean, it's a kind of like a leap of faith. Do I need a smaller office? Do I need a bigger office? Do I need a collaborative? But whatever it is, it's about time. It's been 20 months. We need to decide. And I think some of the themes which are emerging out of this is that there has to be purpose. It needs to be a better workplace. However, you may define what better is. Some people are saying it needs to be a smaller workplace. It certainly needs to be a sustainable workplace. And of course, like you mentioned, it needs to be a smarter workplace, I think, with all the technology which is coming in. In fact, as you know, Clark, we'll be deep diving into some of these issues, these five things, in another very intense discussion with Chris Hood and Garvis Tompkins on the 8th of December. So anyone in the audience who's interested in knowing some of the answers, you can write to me, and I'll get you included in that webinar as well. So that's my name. And before we go, we like to keep this short and snappy. I think we still have some questions coming up. Let's see if we can take any more questions. Okay, there's somebody called Design Dude. Okay, thanks, Design Dude. What, according to you, should be the most impactful intervention by designers on metaverse adoption in future workplaces and homes?
What interventions we should do as designers? Well, I think the metaverse, really, whatever that means, um, giving people the freedom to begin entering the metaverse. I think everyone is wondering how it's going to affect us. I think in terms of the physical space as designers, I don't think we need to do much. I'm counting on not the work environment designers, but designers of applications, virtual reality, augmented reality, where that's coming. I think Microsoft actually announced something 2 weeks ago with the mesh in their terms, is opening up a whole new way where I guess I could be talking to an avatar of Partha right now, and
Yeah,
we could see where the added value of that is. I guess the fascination, the richness of the background and the merging of all the media that we'd like to look at and pulling up files and referring to images and considering everyone, maybe seeing the audience in some way that's not 25,000 postage stamps of little portraits of all you people who are listening right now. I'm really curious if I could see who the audience is. That would create another level of
yes.
interaction, but that's just off the cuff. And I think a lot of new experimentation is going to be done
Yeah,
to
I mean,
be
it's
metaverse friendly.
yeah, I mean, it's quite amazing, isn't it? I mean, somebody who's probably a designer is asking questions about the metaverse. And traditional, I mean, both of us, me and Clark, studied design many, many years back. And the kind of design we learned in school is probably, it's not relevant at all in many ways, in more ways than one. So I think we're going to deep dive into many of these issues. We'd love to, in fact, pick up this topic about metaverse as well in the discussion which is coming up on the 8th of December. If you'd like to be part of that, please write to this. And we like to keep this short. Like I said, we try to close this in half an hour, but that one is a longer one. So please join us then. That brings us actually to the end of today's session. I wish we could go on. There are some more questions, but we promised to try and get back to you over email. So thank you so much, Clark, for joining us today. And thank you, audience, for joining us in such large numbers and for talking to us through text. So this is the metaverse in a way, and we promise to be back next month with a new topic. Thanks so much. Thank you, Clark. I hope you
Pleasure.
enjoyed. Yeah.
It was very stimulating. Thank you, everyone. And thank you for the questions. Bye.
Bye bye.